it does look very nice today. Currently, as you can see outside, it is clear. There is not a cloud in sight. It's currently 73. Those dew point temperatures are low, so it also feels like it's 73 outside. The wind speeds are sitting at about 13 miles per hour, so it's going to be nice and breezy. Now, giving you a look at Moline, it's slightly warmer just by a degree. It is 74. Again, no dew points. Those dew point temperatures are really low, so it feels like 74. And again, there's some gusty winds. Sitting across our area, we're sitting in the 70s, 74 in Quad City, 72 in Clinton. I don't expect it to get too much warmer today, be in the upper 70s by the afternoon hours. Now, looking at our radar, it is completely clear. There is not a raindrop or cloud in sight. That will last throughout the rest of your day and heading into the end of your week. Now, giving you a look today, 79 is going to be nice and warm tonight. It's going to be 54, real clear. Again, 80 tomorrow. Nothing is happening. It's going to be a very silent weather-wise, so you guys definitely get out and enjoy the weather while you can. Now, it's hot right now currently. It's hot out here in the west. This system right here is going to move east. The Quad Cities specifically, we're sitting in this cool air system right here. Now, as we head until tomorrow, we're going to still experience that cool weather system. Temperatures are going to remain in the 70s. But as we head into the weekend, you see that hot, it's starting to move over. It's getting closer and closer to the Quad Cities. And by Saturday, we're sitting in that dark red area. We're expecting some very warm temperatures, a possible return to summer temperatures. I believe that this will probably be the last time for the remainder of the year that we will have temperatures in the 90s. Now, it's been feeling nice with that return of heat. We're going to feel some humidity with our dew point temperatures. Now, remaining out through the remainder of your work week, we're going to sit real nice. It's going to feel real comfortable outside. But as we head into Saturday, those dew point temperatures are in the 60s, so it's going to be noticeable. We're expecting temperatures to be in the possible upper 80s, lower 90s temperature-wise, but it's going to feel much warmer come Saturday, so definitely be aware of that. Temperatures by tomorrow morning, it's going to be real nice, folks. We're going to be in the upper 40s, lower 50s to start out the day. 49 here in Quad Cities, 51 in DeWitt, a comfortable start to your day. Again, we're going to be sitting real nice and warm in our viewing area tomorrow. Now, today it's going to be clear and cool, high 79. It's going to be breezy. We have those wind speeds at about 17 miles per hour. Heading into night, it's going to be nice and clear, 54. Definitely want to shut off the AC. I made that mistake last night and left my AC on. Woke up freezing cold this morning. It's going to be nice and windy as well. Getting a look at your 8 on 8. We're going to return to the 80s tomorrow. 90s possible by Saturday. Remain in the upper 80s to start your work week with the chance of showers to return.
All right, so as we said, the 90s are not out of the forecast just quite yet.
Not quite yet.
Okay.
So Saturday.
Okay, we'll be on the lookout.
Yes.
Efforts, thank you.
Yes, giving you a weather update on your health, looking outside. It's nice with good air quality, heat index. We don't have a heat index, so it is what it feels like what it is outside, which is 79 degrees. Now, if you are allergic to any ragweed, we have a high count for ragweed today. Tree pollen, grass pollen, and mold, you guys are sitting at low and very low. If you guys suffer from joint problems like my mom, well, the air pressure is looking real good heading into the start of the next week. This weekend, as we head into that high pressure system, there's a slight decrease and increase that's pretty steep, so we went ahead and put that in the yellow for some pains, but overall, you're sitting at a good health. Thank you for tuning in, or thank you. This is Good Morning Quad Cities. We'll be back right after the break. Hello, Quad Cities. Taking a look outside right now. It is nice, beautiful, clear skies, not a cloud or raindrop in sight. Currently right now in Davenport, it is 70 degrees. Our dew point temperature is real low, so it is what it feels like outside. Sitting at Moline, just slightly warmer at a degree, 74 degrees, nice dew point, so it feels great outside currently. Both Moline and Davenport are experiencing some nice gusty wind speeds with wind speeds in the teens. Now, getting a look across the area, we're sitting in the 70s, 74 in Quad Cities, 75 in DeWitt. I don't expect temperatures to get much warmer, only to like the upper 70s for today. Now, looking at our radar, it is absolutely clear. There's nothing coming in around us, near us, and I expect that to last throughout the remainder of the day. Now, getting a look until today, our high is 79, 54 by this evening, and 80 by tomorrow. And it's nice and clear once again, not any rain, which is a good thing for the Wapsi because we're currently sitting at 11.8 feet right now. We are in the moderate zone for flooding. We're going to get to a peak of 11.9 by Thursday, which is tomorrow. That record was 14.3. We had a potential to possibly break the record or tie it, but that will not be happening. And we're going to decrease down to 11.2 by Saturday. Now, this will affect some areas with flooding. At 11.5 feet, water affects homes along the old US 75. So if you live around there, be cautious of the water levels. Now, looking at tomorrow morning for your start, we're going to have a very comfortable start to your day. We're sitting in the upper 40s, low 50s in some areas, 49 here in Quad Cities, 51 in DeWitt. So a nice comfortable start. That start's not going to last too long as we do have some dew point temperatures increasing into the 60s as we get into this weekend with the return of some possible heat. Now tomorrow it's going to be nice in the 70s across the board, 75 here in Quad City, 73 in Galesburg. Now today it's going to be clear and cool, and it's going to be nice and breezy with temperatures around 17 miles per hour. Tonight, it's going to be clear and cool as well, 54. Again, some wind gusts. Definitely want to shut off the AC. I accidentally left mine on last night, and it was real cold when I woke up this morning. Now, looking at your 8 on 8, it's going to be in the 80s. Return tomorrow, 90 by Saturday. Probably the last time, but we have some temperatures in the 90s, and we're going to be in the upper 80s to start your work week next week with the chance of showers to return. So, yeah.
So enjoy today while it lasts. Very comfortable
Yes,
conditions
yes.
outside.
And today, the remainder of the work week, Saturday, it's going to be a little hot. You're going to feel it. Yeah.
Okay. Hot once again. Efforts, thank you very much. Craig, how is it going?
Doing just fine, John.
All right, so we are taking your questions through our live stream on the WQAD Facebook page right now. I will start. We've already got some good questions here. Craig, Sherry writes in, why are my bell pepper plants not producing hardly any peppers?
Well, it could be that she over-fertilized a little bit. If she's got absolutely fantastic-looking plants and very little fruit, could be that there's just a little bit too much nitrogen in the ground. I'd suggest using organic fertilizers in the future. And of course, keep that watering even through the season. Up and down watering can really stress a plant. So organic fertilizers and even watering.
Go ahead, Efridge.
Yes, Ted would like to know, when can I prune my magnolia tree?
I would wait until after the ground starts to freeze. We're coming into that time of the season where if fall would turn out to be very long and warm, you prune now, the tree is going to start to try and grow. But if you wait until the ground starts to freeze up, and that's usually mid-December, then you can get the pruning shears out again.
Curdy writes in here, why did my Delilah not bloom?
Well, I'm going to guess that possibly it just wasn't getting enough light. Dahlias are an extremely high light plant. They also like their fertilizer. And very seldom do I find a dahlia that is not going to bloom. Maybe it picked up a virus somewhere along the way, but I'm guessing light is the big culprit here. Needs more light.
And Ed would like to know, when is it a good time to transplant a rose bush?
In about a month. We're going to give it about another 5 weeks, maybe 6, for the ground to start cooling down. That would be the time that we'd be cutting roses back anyway, toward the mid to late part of October. They're getting ready to go dormant, so if you lift them or prune them, lift them, get them back in the ground, they're hardly even going to know they've been touched.
John writes in, good morning. I have to move my tulips and my allium bulbs. When is a good time to move them?
Well, now's a good time to dig them up. And the bulbs have come in for retail sales, but I usually suggest getting out and buying early while the selection is still good, or digging up and just drying the bulbs for a few weeks, and then planting toward the end of September so that the bulbs do not tend to come up before cold weather gets here. So dig and dry now, replant in about a month.
Ah, nice. And Bobby would like to know, is it too late to plant mums in the garden?
Well, it's always luck of the draw when you put mums in the ground. The earlier in the season, the better they're going to survive. And of course, now if you can find mums that are just starting to show color, they're going to have a chance to get some roots out before cold weather gets here. So now would be the most advantageous time to get mums into the garden. And then we keep our fingers crossed as far as getting them through the winter.
Pat writes in, can I trim a redbud tree when it has 5 to 6 limbs growing from the bottom?
Well, redbuds quite often do grow as clumps. And if you're going to remove any of those extra stems, again, I would wait until, on that one, I'd wait until after the first year. You want the ground completely frozen before you go into that kind of pruning on a redbud.
Yes. And Kim would like to know, do I cut down my butterfly bushes in the fall or wait until the spring?
Wait until spring. A lot of plants, it's probably not going to make a big difference, but I always tell people you wait until you see the new growth on a butterfly bush before you cut it back in the spring.
Let's see here. Carl writes in, what is the best weed control to use because we have 2 dogs?
Okay. Try and find something that is as mild as possible, but I don't care what chemical you're using. When I still had a small dog, we would treat the yard in stages. You would go out and block off part of the yard so that the dog couldn't get there, do the treatment, wait 24 hours. Once it is fully dry on the lawn, then the dog can go over there, and then you can treat the other part of the yard. Just do not let the animal get near that chemical while it's fresh on the grass for the first 24 hours.
And Rick would like to know, he wants to address the weeds now that his garden has been harvested in a way that will be effective yet not hurt next year's planting. Should I use a granular or a spray, and what kind?
Well, if the garden has already been totally harvested, the best thing you do is go out and do a fall turnover. Turn all those weeds under. That adds organic matter to the soil as the weeds break down. It gets rid of eggs and of insects and disease that are hiding on the surface of the soil. If you're going to use a chemical, I would use a liquid. It's not nearly as persistent as the granulars might be.
We have questions from Sharon, Bill, Steve, and Erica when we come back right here on Good Morning Quad Cities at 11.
Another 7 weeks.
Greg, we are back. We are back, brother. There you go. There you go. All right. So we are talking, of course, to our plant garden expert, Craig Hignite, taking the questions through the WQAD Facebook page right now. Sharon writes in, what is the best lighting for a corn stalk houseplant?
Well, Dracaena messengiana is a great low light plant. It will do best, of course, over in a sunny window. But if you have an area that is not as well lit, a corn stalk should do just fine in that location. Again, remember, like any plant, you're going to give it a quarter turn every couple of 3 days because all of that light is coming from one side.
And Bill would like to know, when can I cut back the spike left from hostas bloom? I apologize if I said that wrong.
Hosta. Short O.
Okay.
You can anytime. I know people that don't even let their hostas bloom. They grow them for the leaves, so the second they see a flower stem, it's gone. I've enjoyed the hostas blooming this year around town, but as the flowers fade, you go ahead, you cut them down just so you cannot see them down inside of the leaves.
Steve writes in, I have some bridal wreath bushes that need to be pruned. How far back do I trim them and when should I do that?
Okay, there again, I'm going to tell you to wait until after the ground starts to cool down. We don't want to force out that late growth. And if they're fairly old plants, they can be taken down by about a third. I have seen very old plants taken down to 3 inches above the ground, and they came back just fine. But that is a winter frozen ground pruning situation.
And Erica would like to know, what's the best plant for a toddler to start with?
For a what?
For a toddler?
Toddler?
A toddler to start with, yes.
Okay, I'm going to say something like maybe pothos, a mother-in-law's tongue, an arrowhead plant, something that is very easy, doesn't mind being a little bit on the dry side. Kids can forget to take care of things, really any plant. If mom and dad are looking over their shoulder, they should be okay as long as mom and dad's thumbs aren't too black.
Craig, you're giving me things to do with Archie. Archie's going to have a green thumb before you know it.
Good.
Okay. Elizabeth writes in, how can, she says, Roe can only get a fungus out of apple. How can I only get a fungus out of apple trees? I think that's what she's trying to say here.
Okay. The thing is that we start our fungal spray program immediately after the apples get done blooming in the spring. We never spray while the trees have flowers on them. But then you can go in, and if it's an edible apple, of course, you're going to use an all-purpose fruit tree spray about every 10 days for about at least 5 sprays in a row. If it's a non-edible apple, like a crab apple, and boy, have I noticed a lot of leaves coming off the crab apples, then you can go in with just a good broad spectrum fungicide to help protect the leaves that are still on the tree.
Oh, nice. And Kelly would like to know, when can I trim my burning bushes?
There again, wait until the ground starts to cool down, and it's the same old thing. If you're going to, you can shape up a burning bush almost any time except September and October. We don't want to force that late growth. Once we get on into November, then we can do some real pruning on them to shape them up for next year. But, the best time is actually after the first of the year.
Guinea writes in, why are my tomatoes getting blossom end rot now?
Wow. Well, it could be that extreme hot weather that we had threw off the water balance, and water stress can cause blossom end rot. But this late in the season, there should not be much blossom end rot, although we still have 8 weeks until those plants are going to freeze out. So you might still want to get in there with the yield booster to give them the calcium they need through the leaves, not necessarily through the roots.
Yes. And Benjamin has a rose bush that grows like a wild vine, and whenever he cuts it, it continues to grow wild and has not produced flowers after the first 3 years. So what can he do to make it better and not have those conditions?
Well, what he needs to do is consign that rose to the compost pile. What has happened, the rose has frozen back to below the graft. What he's looking at are root sprouts. They almost never bloom. They've got the most vicious thorns that you've ever seen. So this plant has, he's actually, after 3 years, he's given it more time than it would have had in my garden. 1 year without any blooms at all, and a rose gets traded out in the garden.
Bernard writes in, Craig, I'm growing an avocado tree inside. My leaves keep curling, and I have little bugs. Help me out.
Okay. Avocados can be quite susceptible to spider mite. You want to use a miticide on it. Remember that growing from a avocado pit, you're never going to see fruit, so you don't have to worry about the plant ever being edible in any way. So I would say you've got to even out your watering a little bit. Always drain that excess. Never let it stand in water. Maybe set it on a pebble tray to raise the humidity. Remember, they grow a lot further south than here normally, so that they get high humidity, and use a miticide to protect the plant from the bugs.
Craig, thank you. We appreciate it.
Hey, thank you. See you next Wednesday.
Sounds good. Be sure to join our Facebook Live with Craig each and every Wednesday. You can submit your questions and be a part of the conversation. GMQC at 11 returns right after this.
Welcome back, giving you a last look at your weather. We are currently sitting in the mid 70s right now, upper 70s, 77 and Quad Cities 75 in DeWitt. I don't expect temperatures to get too much warmer up into the upper 70s as your day continues on. Now we're going to give you a look at your today's forecast. Mainly sunny, nice and breezy, about 79 degrees. Tonight it's going to be clear skies. Open up those windows. It's going to feel real nice. 54 is your high today. We're going to return to the 80s tomorrow. See possible return of summer temperatures on Saturday with 90 degrees and remain in the upper 80s for the end of the weekend until your start next week with a chance of showers to return.
All right, Efforts, thank you very much. Well, here are your top stories on this Wednesday. The old Carnegie Library in Aledo is getting new life after being transformed over the past year. The empty library has been turned into a co-working space for employees at several different companies. Already there's 8 employees working there now, and leaders are working with other companies to bring even more STEM jobs to the area soon. Two-way traffic for Avenue of the Cities is back open again after being limited to eastbound only traffic. One lane back open in both directions, meaning drivers should no longer need to use the 36th Avenue detour. Construction on the road is limited to a section between Browningfield and I-74. Now work shifts back to the eastbound lanes for the final parts of the project. It's expected to wrap up by the end of this month. Thank you for watching Good Morning Quad Cities at 11. Our next news is at 5. In the meantime, get the latest news, weather, and sports on our website at WQAD.com. Have a great afternoon.